Have you ever heard of a war that created a brand new country and completely redrew the map of a subcontinent in, get this, less than 2 weeks? Well, let's dive right in because that is exactly what happened back in 1971.
Just 13 days. That's it. That is all it took. In that tiny little window of time, one of the world's biggest nations was literally torn in two, and a new one, Bangladesh, was born out of all that fire and chaos. So how on earth could something so massive happen so unbelievably fast?
Well, to really get this war, you first have to understand the country it broke apart from, Pakistan. You see, when it was created in 1947, it was supposed to be one nation, but it was a nation in two completely separate pieces, with over 1,600 kilometers of India sitting right in between them.
And this is where the problem really starts. Just look at the disconnect. Over here in East Pakistan, you've got more than half the country's entire population. They have their own incredibly rich Bengali culture, their own language. Then, way over in West Pakistan, you have where all the power was, all the political, economic, and military muscle. They shared a religion, yeah, but pretty much nothing else.
And this quote from the Bengali leader Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, it just perfectly sums up how the people in the East felt. This wasn't a partnership, it felt like they were a colony being exploited. The Bengali people felt like they had no voice, that they were being ignored and ruled by people miles and miles away who just didn't get their culture or their problems.
So you can just feel the tension building, right? The stage was set for this huge political showdown. The people of East Pakistan were demanding change, and they tried to do it the right way, the democratic way. But what happened next? Well, that's what turned a political fight into an all-out, brutal war.
Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's party, the Awami League, came up with this 6-point program. And really, it was basically a demand to run their own show. They wanted East Pakistan to control its own economy, its own destiny. For the Bengalis, this was just about basic fairness. But for the rulers back in West Pakistan, this looked like straight-up rebellion.
So, in 1970, Pakistan holds its first ever general election, and the results? They are absolutely stunning. Look at this. The Awami League doesn't just win, it's a total landslide. They took almost every single seat in East Pakistan, and that gave them a clear, absolute majority in the entire country's government. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was supposed to become the Prime Minister of all of Pakistan.
But here's the thing. Here's where it all goes so wrong. The military and the political bosses in West Pakistan, they just refused to hand over power. They lost the election, fair and square, but instead of accepting that democratic result, they decided to go down a very, very different road.
And that road was one of just unimaginable violence. Their refusal to honor the election led straight to a military crackdown. And this wasn't just to keep order. It was designed to completely crush the Bengali independence movement once and for all.
On the night of March 25th, the Pakistani army unleashed something they called Operation Searchlight. Tanks started rolling through the streets of Dhaka, the biggest city in East Pakistan. And they went after everyone: universities, civilian neighborhoods, anyone they even suspected of wanting autonomy.
Over the next 9 months, the world saw something that many now call a genocide. The human cost is it's staggering. Estimates say up to 3 million civilians were killed. There's a saying that the rivers of Bengal literally turned red with blood.
All of this violence, of course, triggered a massive humanitarian crisis. 10 million absolutely terrified people ran for their lives, pouring across the border into neighboring India. Suddenly, this wasn't just Pakistan's problem anymore, it was completely overwhelming India.
And this is where India really steps onto the stage. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi saw this not just as a refugee problem, but as a moral duty. She begged the world to help, but crickets. The world was mostly silent. So India started getting ready to act on its own.
Okay, so with a humanitarian disaster on its border and a genocide raging right next door, India, working with the Bengali freedom fighters, prepared for a quick, decisive military strike. And when it happened, man, it happened fast. On December 3rd, Pakistan tried to launch a surprise attack, hitting Indian air bases first. That was the official start of the war. But India's response was instant and overwhelming. Just 13 days later, it was all over.
And this is how they pulled it off. The Indian military ran a near-perfect lightning campaign. They came in from 3 sides at once, the Navy blocked off the coast so no one could get in or out, and, this is key, they worked with the Mukti Bahini, the local Bengali resistance, who knew the land inside and out. The Pakistani army was trapped, completely surrounded.
And the result of this incredibly swift, decisive campaign wasn't just a military win. It created a whole new political reality for all of South Asia.
These were the words of the top Pakistani general in Dhaka, broadcast over the radio. His troops were cut off, their morale was gone, and there was zero hope of victory. The war was over.
The scale of this defeat was just historic. Over 93,000 Pakistani soldiers laid down their weapons. To this day, it's the largest military surrender anywhere in the world since the end of World War II.
So what's the big takeaway here? The changes were massive. In just 13 days, Bangladesh is born. India becomes the undisputed power in the region, and Pakistan is fundamentally broken, losing more than half its people and its whole identity as a nation for both East and West.
You know, at the end of the day, this war proved something incredibly powerful. A country isn't just about lines that politicians draw on a map. It's about a shared identity, a common culture, and what the people themselves want. And when you ignore those things, maps can and do get redrawn.
And the legacy of those 13 days? It continues to shape the politics, the rivalries, and the identities of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh even now. It leaves us with a really important question to think about. How do the scars of a war that ended over 50 years ago still define that entire part of the world today?